Stay, so forgive the shul. After all shir kibbut avim. Oh, for father-in-law, it's even more important for father-in-law. Because your father loves you no matter what. Your father-in-law might need, a little extra. Okay. So tonight's shir is the first sugya in Hilchot Talmud Torah, and because we're doing the shir before the learning, I thought I'd pick something which you have the least chance of getting up to in the learning. It's the last page. It's after the learning. Then there's an English section. There's a tshuva from Eretz Chemda. So why does everyone turn to page 162? It's a fasting tshuva. It really has nothing to do with the rest of the sugya. So I will have no spoilers for your learning. You'll be able to learn unhindered by my shir. The tshuva is a fasting tshuva, which caught my attention. This is Limud Torah Ligvarim Begilui Rosh. What would be the case if I were giving this shir right now, and someone in the room, or multiple in the room, were not wearing a yarmulke? Would I be able to give the shir? Would I be able to continue the shir? Happens all the time. Rabbis are invited to a boardroom to give a lunch and learn. People come in, they're not wearing yarmulke. The rabbi doesn't have them in his pocket. What is one allowed to do? So the tshuva from Eretz Chemda, this tshuva looks like it was posed in Buenos Aires, says the following: Hey, mutar l'lamei Tanakh l'kita sheba gvarim yoshim begilei rosh. Can you give a class, a Tanakh shir, if there are people not covering their hair? So he writes, Be'inyan shir Tanakh l'gvarim she'inam choshim kisei rosh. Limud Torah meikara asur shias begilei rosh. A person is not allowed to learn without a head covering. And I'll quote some of the sources afterwards. V'yesh levakesh min hagvarim hamishtatfim b'shir lachvosh kippah l'rosham. And ideally, one should ask the attendees to cover their hair. Rak b'matzavim miyuchadim she'afshar lagdiram kitzorach hasha. But if there are extenuating circumstances, which is as follows, he gives an example, Kagon, if you're trying to give a shir and they don't really want to be at the shir, so you're already working against the odds here. If by asking them to wear a yarmulke, it's going to be very uncool, and you're going to lose any opportunity really to be makarev them to yadus, so then in such a situation, one will be able to give the shir without encouraging them to wear a yarmulke. Basically, heter kiruv is basically what he writes. But qualification, one would not be allowed to call in a volunteer to read a pasuk for me, because it would be inappropriate for someone to read a pasuk or a makor without a head covering. In order that a person shouldn't say Hashem's name with their head uncovered. In the end of footnote 1, he writes, Kasher ba'a, the last line, the end of footnote 1 of the Bible writes, Kasher ba'a bakasha lechavisha kiba b'darchei noam u'v'chiba. If one asks, though, in a very nice way, in a very pleasant way, in a really non-threatening way, toch hasparat inyan, he asui litkabel b'nakel. So he does right, if you can gather the courage or find the right way to do it in a non-threatening way, to ask the crowd to cover their heads by saying the reason why we cover our heads is because we're trying to have Morah Shemayim. We want to have the fear of heaven, and that's why men cover their heads. And you can go into a whole explanation just about head coverings alone. So he says usually that will be well received by the audience, and they usually put on the kippah without a fight. So I just want to present very briefly some sources that are not here of a discussion of whether or not wearing a head covering is obligatory or not. So there are two halachot. Again, this is not in your source for tonight. There are two relevant halachot. They stem from the Gemara, but I didn't bring the actual Gemara. I just brought the halacha. And that is in Siman Bet, in the second Siman of Al Shulchan Aruch, because we're trying to make our journey through Al Shulchan Aruch, so we start from the beginning. The Shulchan Aruch writes, Asur leilech b'koma zekufa. You're not supposed to walk very, with your head held high. Certain haughtiness, the Allah is telling us. V'lo yelech b'dalad amo b'gilui harosh. And a person also is not supposed to walk 4 amos without a head covering. Implication of the Shulchan Aruch is that one could walk less than 4 amos. Seems to be that the prohibition is walking 4 amos. The Mishabura comments in Siman Bet, says Umidat Chasidus afil pachos midalad amos. It's midat chasidut even less than dalad amos. Va'afil be'it hashena uvalayla. And it's also midat chasidus to even wear a shluf kapo, which it was the narnachi. Was at some point in my life I used to wear one. At some point I stopped doing that. But it's midat chasidut for those who want to wear those. Okay. The implication of the shofar seems to be that midat chasidut is to even do it less than dalad amot. But it seems to be a din, psuka, more than dalad amot. However, the Mishabura says, "V'yeshim etzadadin lomar dafilu dalad amot enu aser medina." Some say that it's actually not an ikar, a halacha psuka. It's not there's no halachic source that one has to wear yarmulke even for amot. It's just immediate chasidut. It stems from the Gemara. Raklat snuyin, but my saying for those who are very scrupulous individuals, it's appropriate to wear yarmulke dalad amot. But nonetheless, kfar katav hataz, the Turei Zav, the great commentator on the side of the Shulchan Aruch writes, biznanenu iser gamor medina. He writes that it's not midas chasidus more than dalad amot. It actually is a iser gamor medina liot begili arosh va'afil yoshe bebeso ayin shamatam. The Taz says that no, it is halacha that one needs to wear yarmulke and one cannot walk dalad amos. What would be the halacha of where this issue comes of having to wear yarmulke? Can anyone guess? So the Taz writes, the Taz's theory is that it falls under the category uvachuko seim lo seilechu. The non-Jews, specifically Christians, I think are very careful that they remove their head covering specifically as a sign of their worship when they go into their churches. And that's why even at ball games, it's a whole shiloh. Are you when they take off their hats, are you allowed to take off your hat or not allowed to take off your hat? So I always feel that's great. If you wear a yarmulke under your hat, so there's no problem. You take off your hat and you got your yarmulke on, so you kind of get the best.
But then you're standing still. You're not walking.
Correct. So what Michael's saying is that technically, it'd be okay even to remove your cap, although there might be a problem with uvachuko seim lo seilechu then, because then you're doing that and you don't have a yarmulke on. So if you have your yarmulke on, it's clearly not uvachuko seim lo seilechu. And then you also have this midas chasidus, which says that even less than dalad amos, one should not do it. So I hear the discussion. Probably best to have a yarmulke under your hat. The reason why Taz says it's a problem of lo and therefore he says bisman hazeh, it is a halacha that one should wear yarmulke. I wasn't watching the time when I started, but you'll give me a warning when it's getting close. Just some very short halachas that come up in the same Mishabura that the Mishabura quotes. He says, first of all, Kasam agin Avram da'afilu ketanim nachal l'argilim b'kisei harosh. For those with young boys, it's a good idea that when they're young to even get them acclimated wearing a yarmulke. Because putting a yarmulke on helps one develop their Yirah Shemayim, as he quotes it more in Shabbos. Gemara says the reason why we wear head covering is to help one have Yirah Shemayim. And then another fascinating question is, what constitutes a kisei rosh? Can one use their hands? If you're stuck in a situation, can you do the whole put the hand on the head, drink the water move? We've all been in that situation where no one's looking. We're wondering if that works. So first of all, the Shulchan Aruch in Siman Tzadi Aleph writes that he writes Hanacha yad ala rosh lo chashiva kisoy. He writes lechatchila one should not put their hand on the rosh. It's not considered a kisoy. But the Mishabura quotes. He writes l'yinin gili harosh dai b'kisei yad harosh. If you're stuck in a situation where you're not walking, that for kisei harosh one could cover their head, but Siman Tzadi Aleph is talking about tefillah and uttering any dvarim shebekdusha. So to say a bracha or to daven, one would not put their hand on. But if you just you're stuck in a situation, you don't have your yarmulke, and you need to get to your yarmulke, you're not saying any prayers, then it'd be better to put their hand on their head than to do nothing at all. And then the Mishabura says, quoting the Pri Megadim, "Shekata le'letar amot tachar b'yashmayim l'mahanim zakisei rosh biyad." So again, you try not to go even. There are shitas which say fasting that inside the home, that the roof of your home does constitute a head covering. We don't rely on that lechatchila, but it is brought down in the poskim. And then he writes, "Yesh mekilim b'zeh b'shas lachakom b'layla sherotze lishtot let's say you're dying of thirst, you can't find your yarmulke, there is a shita b'shat rachak that one could even drink. Ve'ein lo kova barosho, even if you don't have a hat, in that case you could use your hand. Aval yoter tov lino k'mosha olam noagin shemamshich habeit yad shel habeged al yad mechasa barosho. Does have a shaper kisu kol yama. But what's best to do is not to use one hand, but to roll up your sleeve, like you see people doing by tachanim. They don't have a full covering on their arm, they'll roll up their sleeve, or even a short sleeve, to be on their head. Similarly, one should literally put their sleeve on their head, and everyone agrees that a sleeve, that would constitute a proper kisei rosh. But it's fascinating, there is a shita that says, b'shas rachak, one could do the hand move even to have a drink in the middle of the night. Presumably that means with a bracha. It's a little confusing because later in Siman Tayalf it says not to make brachot without a kisei rosh. But unless we're talking about a scenario where you already made a bracha recently and now you lost your yarmulke, like you had the water next to you, it's hard to understand what the case is where it'd be that you're not making a bracha, where you're allowed to drink the water. But these are some of the classic windy day. But you made your bracha already.
Yeah.
You made your bracha, you lost your yarmulke, so you would be allowed, maybe. These are some of the halachos that come up in Hilchos Kisei Rosh, and the rest of the sugya that you're going to learn tonight really is about Hilchos Talmud Torah, and we'll stop here. Enjoy the learning.